Chosen one, your soulmate's secret document is coming. The truth will shock you. God says, my child, listen closely. A document connected to your soulmate is moving toward the light. It was not written in haste. It was formed through tears, prayer, regret, and honest reflection. Your soulmate has carried its words in silence for longer than you know. They feared what might happen once you finally read them. Yet something within their heart has changed. The truth can no longer remain hidden. This document does not carry a threat. It carries an answer. It contains feelings they once denied and memories they tried to bury. You have asked me why their silence felt so heavy. You have wondered why their distance never felt like true rejection. The reason rests inside those pages. I have seen every crossed-out sentence. I have watched their trembling hand pause above your name. Something important is coming. My beloved child, this message is not asking you to panic. Let peace settle over your heart. The secret document may arrive as a letter, a saved message, or a written confession. Its form matters less than its truth. Your soulmate created it during a lonely hour. Rain touched their window while their phone glowed beside them. They opened an old photograph and stared at your face. Then they whispered, I should have told you everything. Their voice broke. The room stayed silent. They began writing because speaking had always frightened them. Every sentence forced them to face what they had avoided. They admitted where fear controlled their choices. They admitted how deeply your absence changed them. They also wrote about one decision that separated you both. That decision was never explained correctly. If these words speak to your heart, comment Amen with quiet faith. The first truth inside that document will change how you remember the separation. My child, you believed their distance meant they had forgotten you. Yet the document reveals something very different. They stepped away because their heart felt unworthy of your love. They carried shame from choices made before you. They feared you would see their weakness and leave first. So they created distance before you could reject them. It was painful. It was also wrong. They now understand that silence wounded you more than honesty would have. One page describes the final evening before everything changed. Your soulmate remembers your eyes searching their face for an answer. They remember the unfinished sentence hanging between you. They wanted to say, please do not give up on me. Instead, they looked away. That moment has followed them into many sleepless nights. However, the document contains more than regret. It reveals who influenced their silence and why that voice has finally lost its power. You who are listening, someone near your soulmate once fed their deepest fears. That person did not control their heart, but they confused their thinking. They said your connection was too intense. They warned that love would expose every hidden wound. Your soulmate listened because fear already lived within them. Yet time exposed the emptiness of that advice. The person who encouraged distance was absent when grief arrived. They were absent during the quiet nights. They were absent when your soulmate needed honest prayer. Your soulmate eventually sat alone inside a nearly empty church. Soft light rested across the wooden seats. An open Bible waited near their hands. They did not ask for a sign about you. They asked for courage to face the truth. My answer came through peace, not pressure. They understood that love cannot heal while hiding behind excuses. That night, they returned home and added a new page. The words on that page may surprise you most. My child, that new page does not blame anyone else. Your soulmate takes responsibility. They wrote, I allowed fear to speak louder than love. Then they stopped. Tears fell onto the paper. The ink blurred near your name. They did not erase it. They left the mark because it showed the cost of their silence. This was the first time they stopped defending themselves. They saw how their mixed signals affected your peace. They remembered every message they typed but never sent. They remembered checking your name late at night. They remembered hoping you were still praying for them. Their heart began changing through accountability. Not through guilt. Through grace. When you see 777, let it remind you to choose prayer over worry. Numbers do not control your future. My wisdom leads you through patience and truth. Yet another section remains sealed within that document. It explains why your soulmate waited until now. My beloved child, timing was never the only problem. Your soulmate needed to become someone who could stand beside truth. Earlier, they wanted reunion without change. They wanted comfort without confession. I did not allow a shallow return to disturb your healing. I protected you from words that were not yet supported by action. During the waiting, you learned to stop begging for clarity. You placed your unanswered questions before me. Meanwhile, your soulmate faced the emptiness created by avoidance. They began changing small habits. They stopped running from difficult conversations. They apologized to people they had wounded. They learned to pray without demanding instant relief. These changes are mentioned in the document because they want you to know their confession is not empty. Still, do not build your peace around a paper. Watch their actions. Listen with wisdom. Trust my timing. The document is coming to reveal truth, but your discernment will decide what that truth means. My child, the most shocking detail is not a dramatic secret. It is the depth of love hidden beneath their fear. Your soulmate wrote that they compared every quiet connection to what they felt with you. None carried the same peace. They tried to convince themselves that moving forward meant forgetting. Yet your memory returned during simple moments. A familiar song played inside a store. Someone laughed like you once laughed. Morning light touched an empty chair across from them. Your absence became visible everywhere. They did not worship the memory. They finally understood its meaning. You had shown them a kind of patience they were not ready to receive. Now they recognize what they nearly lost. The document includes one sentence written many times. Each version was crossed out except the last. That final sentence says they never stopped loving you. But those words are not the final truth. You who are listening, love alone cannot repair what honesty neglected. Your soulmate knows this now. Their document includes boundaries they are willing to respect. It includes questions they expect you to ask. It includes an apology without demanding forgiveness. This matters deeply. They are not writing to trap your heart. They are writing to release the truth. Whether restoration happens quickly, slowly, or differently than expected, honesty must come first. I am teaching both hearts to value peace above fantasy. Share this message with someone who needs hope today. Remind them that healthy restoration never requires abandoning wisdom. Your soulmate's document will not ask you to forget your pain. It will acknowledge it. One section describes the exact moment they understood what your silence meant. When you stopped chasing answers, they realized you were finally protecting your heart. That realization shook them. My child, they saw that your quietness was not revenge. It was healing. You were learning to breathe without waiting for their name. You were rebuilding mornings that no longer depended on a message. You were placing your life back into my hands. Your soulmate noticed the change from a distance. It made them afraid, but it also made them honest. They understood that you might truly continue without them. For the first time, they stopped assuming your love would always wait without limits. They opened the document again. They removed every line that tried to pressure you. They replaced promises with responsibility. They wrote that your peace matters, even if your answer is not what they hope. That sentence proves their heart has begun maturing. Yet before sending the document, they added one final attachment. It holds something you believed was gone forever. My beloved child, the attachment is connected to a moment only you both fully understand. It may be an old photograph, a copied prayer, or a message saved from the past. Your soulmate kept it through every attempt to move on. They could not destroy it because it reminded them of who they were before fear took control. Beside it, they wrote a short note. The note explains that this memory was never used to keep them trapped. It became a mirror. Each time they saw it, they remembered the honesty they owed you. Now their hand is resting near the final button. Their breathing is uneven. The document is complete. Yet one page remains hidden from everyone except them and me. It contains the truth about the promise they made during their lowest night. My child, when that page is revealed, you will finally understand why this document was never only an apology. My child, listen carefully. The hidden page begins with a promise your soulmate made during their lowest night. They were sitting on the floor beside their bed. The room was dark except for a small lamp. Their phone rested face down near their knee. Your name was still open beneath the screen. They had almost called you. They had almost broken the silence. Yet fear stopped their hand again. That night, they whispered a prayer through shaking breath. They said, God, if this love is real, change me before I touch their heart again. That prayer became the promise written on the hidden page. They promised not to return with empty words. They promised to face every wound that made them run. They promised to become honest even if honesty cost them comfort. The document is coming because they now believe that promise has begun changing them. My beloved child, the page explains what happened after that prayer. Your soulmate did not wake with instant courage. They woke with responsibility. Morning light entered through half-closed blinds. Their eyes were swollen from crying. They opened the document and read every excuse they had written. Then they deleted them one by one. They removed the lines that blamed timing. They removed the lines that blamed pressure. They removed the lines that made you responsible for their fear. What remained was painful but clean. They wrote, "I hurt someone who loved me because I was afraid to be fully seen." Those words became a turning point. They could no longer pretend distance had protected anyone. It only delayed the truth. Still, another confession waited beneath those words. That confession reveals what they discovered while trying to replace your presence. My child, they entered rooms filled with laughter and felt strangely alone. They spoke with people who offered attention without understanding. They smiled when expected. They answered when spoken to. Yet their heart remained distant. They were not searching for a copy of you. They were trying to prove they could live untouched by what happened. That effort failed. One evening, someone asked why they became quiet whenever love was mentioned. Your soulmate gave a simple answer. They said, "I once had something honest, and I was too afraid to hold it." The room became still. That sentence shocked even them. It was the first public truth they had spoken about you. Later, they added it to the document. Yet they also wrote something harder. They admitted they watched your life from a distance and misunderstood your healing. You who are listening, your soulmate first thought your peace meant you had forgotten them. They saw less pain in your face. They noticed you no longer reached for answers. They believed this meant the connection had faded. Then they saw something different. Your peace was not forgetting. It was surrender. You had stopped placing your worth inside their response. You had begun trusting me with what you could not control. That truth humbled them. They understood that love should not require you to remain wounded. The document reflects this change clearly. They no longer ask you to wait without direction. They no longer expect your heart to remain frozen. They only ask for one honest moment. One conversation. One chance to place truth where confusion once lived. But before that can happen, you must understand why the document was delayed again. My child, your soulmate completed it several days ago. Their finger hovered above the final button. Their chest tightened. They pictured your face reading each line. Then a fear rose inside them. What if the truth reopened your pain? What if their apology arrived too late? What if your silence was already your answer? They closed the screen and walked outside. Evening wind moved through the trees. Church bells sounded from several streets away. They stood beneath the fading sky and asked me for wisdom. I did not tell them to rush. I led them toward honesty. They returned home and added one sentence at the top. It says, "You owe me nothing after reading this." That sentence changed the entire meaning. The document stopped being a request for rescue. It became an offering of truth. Yet one name inside it still carries unanswered weight. My beloved child, the name belongs to someone connected to the separation. This person was not your replacement. They were not the true reason love broke apart. Still, they played a role in the confusion. Your soulmate trusted their advice during a weak season. This person carried their own wounds and spoke from fear. They said closeness always ends in disappointment. They said deep love makes people lose control. Your soulmate believed those words because they matched old pain. The document does not attack this person. It reveals the influence with honesty. More importantly, it explains why that influence no longer controls them. Your soulmate recently faced that person. The conversation was calm. No shouting filled the room. No anger ruled the moment. Your soulmate simply said, "I cannot keep living by your fear." That sentence closed a door that had remained open too long. My child, after that conversation, your soulmate returned to the document. Their hands were steady this time. They added a clear account of every choice they made. They did not hide behind another person's influence. They wrote that advice only had power because they allowed it. They admitted that fear felt safer than vulnerability. They admitted that losing you seemed easier than risking rejection. Then they wrote something that may bring tears to your eyes. They said your love never demanded perfection. It only asked for honesty. They were the one who made love complicated. They were the one who kept waiting for a perfect moment that never came. This truth broke something hard inside them. Not their hope. Their pride. For the first time, they became ready to meet you without pretending strength. You who are listening, do not confuse their growth with a command for you. You still have freedom. You still have wisdom. You still have the right to move slowly. The document is not meant to erase consequences. It is meant to uncover reality. Pray instead of worrying. Let peace guide your response. Read every word without rushing your heart. Watch whether their actions match their confession. I am not leading you into pressure. I am leading you into clarity. The truth may shock you because it is more humble than expected. Your soulmate is not returning as someone demanding another chance. They are approaching as someone finally willing to accept your answer. That change matters. Yet the final pages reveal something even deeper than apology. They reveal what they have prepared to do if restoration becomes possible. My beloved child, they have written practical steps inside the document. They are not dramatic promises. They are quiet commitments. They are willing to speak openly about what frightened them. They are willing to listen without defending themselves. They are willing to rebuild trust slowly. They are willing to respect the boundaries that protect your peace. They are willing to seek wise Christian counsel if both hearts agree. They understand that prayer must be joined with honest action. They also understand that forgiveness does not erase needed change. These steps show that their love has moved beyond emotion. It has begun learning responsibility. However, there is one commitment they hesitated to include. When they finally wrote it, they sat back and cried because it required surrendering the outcome. My child, that commitment says they will honor your healing even if you choose distance. They will not punish you. They will not create guilt. They will not use spiritual language to control your answer. They will accept that true love cannot force peace. This line may be the clearest proof of their change. Before, fear made them control the silence. Now grace is teaching them to release control. They want restoration, but they no longer believe desire gives them ownership over your heart. That truth is rare. It is also costly. Your soulmate knows the document could bring hope or final closure. Still, they have chosen honesty because hiding has already taken too much. The truth will shock you because it does not arrive wrapped in pressure. It arrives with open hands. My beloved child, the document now carries your name on the first page. Beneath it sits a date connected to a memory you thought only you remembered. It was the day your soulmate first realized they loved you. You may remember nothing dramatic happening. Perhaps you were sitting quietly together. Perhaps you offered kindness during a difficult moment. Perhaps you spoke one sentence that reached a hidden wound. Your soulmate remembers every detail. They wrote about the light in the room. They wrote about your voice. They wrote about the peace they felt near you. That memory became the beginning of feelings they later tried to deny. Now it has become the opening of their confession. Yet the last page contains another date. That date has not happened yet. It marks the day they hope to speak with you face to face. My child, listen closely. The document is no longer unfinished. It has been reviewed through tears and prayer. Your soulmate has removed every excuse. They have left only truth. Their hand is near the final step again. This time, fear is present but no longer leading. They have placed the outcome in my hands. They know your response cannot be controlled. They know honesty may change everything. Still, they are ready. What you do not yet know is where the document will appear. It may come through a message you nearly ignore. It may arrive through someone you trust. It may be placed where only you will understand its meaning. But before it reaches you, one last event will unfold. Your soulmate will receive a response to the prayer they whispered on that darkest night. And when that response comes, they will finally reveal the one truth they were still too afraid to write. Imagine hearing these words as a quiet reminder inspired by faith. My child, listen closely. The moment your soulmate feared for so long is drawing near. The document they once hid is no longer a place for secrets. It has become a place for honesty. Every sentence now carries less fear and more humility. They have read those pages many times. Each reading reminded them that truth is always lighter than pretending. They once believed silence could protect both hearts. Now they understand that silence only delayed healing. They no longer want to hide behind unfinished explanations. They want every word to reflect who they are becoming. The greatest surprise is not that the document exists. The greatest surprise is how much they have changed while writing it. The evening before they planned to send it, they walked through a quiet street after the rain. The air felt fresh. Church bells echoed in the distance. They paused outside a small chapel and remembered the first time they prayed for courage instead of comfort. That prayer stayed with them. They realized they could not ask for restoration while avoiding responsibility. So they returned home and opened the document again. They did not add dramatic promises. They added simple truth. They admitted where pride spoke louder than love. They admitted where fear became an excuse. Those words were difficult to write. Yet they finally felt free. Another page explained something you never knew. Your soulmate often opened old conversations without sending a reply. They read your kind words more than once. They remembered moments when you believed in them before they believed in themselves. They wondered how someone could offer so much patience without asking for perfection. Instead of appreciating that gift, they became afraid of losing it. Fear whispered that love always ends in disappointment. That fear became a wall. Now that wall is beginning to fall. Not because life suddenly became easy, but because honesty has become stronger than fear. The document also speaks about quiet growth. It describes mornings when they chose reflection instead of running. It describes evenings spent asking difficult questions about their own choices. They stopped searching for someone else to blame. They stopped waiting for the perfect moment. They realized that healing begins with accepting responsibility. That realization changed every page they had already written. What once sounded defensive now sounds sincere. What once sounded uncertain now carries peaceful confidence. The document is no longer about explaining the past. It is about respecting the future. If this message encourages your heart, pause for a moment and breathe. Hope grows best in patience. Healthy love is never built through pressure. It grows through truth, grace, forgiveness, and wise choices. That is exactly what these pages now reflect. They are no longer asking for sympathy. They are offering honesty. They know honesty cannot guarantee any outcome. Yet they also know that truth is always a better foundation than silence. There is one memory inside the document that has never left their heart. It is a simple moment. Nothing dramatic happened. You smiled at them during an ordinary day. You spoke with kindness when they least expected it. Years have passed, yet they remember the peace they felt in that brief conversation. They wrote that memory down because they never wanted to forget the person who showed them gentleness when they struggled to believe they deserved it. That memory became a reminder of the kind of love they hope to protect if another opportunity is ever given. The final pages are surprisingly calm. There are no emotional demands. There are no dramatic promises. There is only gratitude, apology, and respect. Your soulmate writes that they understand trust cannot be rebuilt overnight. They know forgiveness cannot be rushed. They accept that your healing matters just as much as their own. They are willing to listen before speaking. They are willing to answer difficult questions without hiding behind excuses. They believe real love welcomes honesty, even when honesty feels uncomfortable. As the document reaches its final form, one question still remains. It is not whether the truth will be spoken. It is whether both hearts will recognize how much they have changed since the silence first began. That answer cannot be forced. It can only unfold one faithful step at a time. And that quiet possibility is what gives the final page its deepest meaning. Imagine hearing these words as another quiet reminder inspired by faith. My child, listen carefully. The document now rests in a safe place, but your soulmate no longer sees it as a collection of pages. They see it as a mirror. Every sentence reflects the person they used to be and the person they are becoming. They once believed hiding the truth would protect everyone involved. Now they understand that hidden truth only creates deeper confusion. They are no longer preparing the perfect explanation. They are preparing an honest conversation. That difference changes everything. Their heart has become quieter. Their thoughts have become clearer. The fear that once controlled every decision has slowly lost its voice. Yet one question still echoes inside them. Will you recognize the sincerity behind every word they carefully chose? One peaceful morning, sunlight entered through their window before the alarm sounded. They reached for the document instead of their phone. They read the first page slowly. They paused after every paragraph. More than once, they closed their eyes because the memories felt so real. They remembered the moments they laughed with you. They remembered the conversations that ended too soon. They remembered the silence that followed. They wished they had chosen honesty much earlier. Yet they also understood they could not change yesterday. They could only choose today's truth. That realization gave them unexpected peace. Instead of rewriting the past, they focused on writing with integrity. Every new sentence became gentler. Every difficult confession became clearer. They wanted nothing hidden between the lines. Another page carries a memory that even surprised them. They remembered a day when you encouraged them without expecting anything in return. You probably considered it a small act of kindness. To them, it became unforgettable. During one of their hardest seasons, they returned to that memory again and again. They realized genuine love often speaks through simple moments instead of dramatic events. That understanding changed how they viewed your connection. They stopped measuring love by excitement alone. They began recognizing faithfulness, patience, and quiet care as something far more valuable. They added this realization to the document because they wanted you to know they finally understood what your kindness truly meant. As time passed, they became less afraid of difficult conversations. They practiced telling the truth even when it felt uncomfortable. They apologized to people they had unintentionally hurt. They accepted correction without becoming defensive. These small decisions slowly built new confidence inside them. It did not happen overnight. It happened one honest choice at a time. The document reflects this steady growth. It no longer sounds like someone asking to escape consequences. It sounds like someone ready to accept responsibility. That difference may become the most meaningful part of everything you eventually read. Take a quiet moment today. Breathe deeply. Hope does not rush. Faith does not panic. Wisdom grows patiently. While your soulmate prepared these words, you were also growing in ways you could not always see. You learned how to protect your peace. You learned how to trust without controlling every outcome. You discovered that your future does not depend on another person's decision alone. Those lessons matter. They prepared your heart to respond with wisdom instead of fear. Whatever happens next, those lessons remain a lasting gift. There is another detail inside the document that reveals genuine change. Your soulmate removed every sentence that tried to persuade you emotionally. They erased every line that sounded demanding. They replaced them with simple honesty. They wrote that your freedom deserves respect. They wrote that your peace should never be sacrificed to satisfy someone else's regrets. Those words were difficult because they required surrender. Yet surrender brought unexpected freedom. For the first time, they felt they were speaking from love instead of fear. They no longer wanted to control the ending. They simply wanted the truth to be known. As evening arrived again, they placed the document beside an open Bible and sat quietly for several minutes. No dramatic signs appeared. No extraordinary event interrupted the silence. There was only calm reflection and grateful prayer. They thanked God for teaching them that healing often begins long before reconciliation becomes possible. They thanked Him for changing their own heart before asking anything from yours. That quiet prayer became the final memory connected to the document. It reminded them that every meaningful relationship grows stronger when humility replaces pride. Now only one gentle step remains. The document is complete. The words are honest. The apologies are sincere. The hope is real, yet it remains humble. Your soulmate understands that truth deserves to be shared with respect, not pressure. They are preparing to let those pages speak for themselves. When that moment finally comes, the greatest surprise may not be what the document says. The greatest surprise may be the peaceful heart that wrote it, and the quiet confidence with which it is finally placed into your hands. Imagine hearing these words as another quiet reminder inspired by faith. My child, listen closely. The document has remained unchanged for several days. Not because your soulmate doubted the truth, but because they wanted every sentence to reflect peace instead of emotion alone. They refused to send it while anger, guilt, or fear still guided their thoughts. They wanted every word to come from a healed place. That decision was not easy. Several times they almost pressed the final button. Several times they closed the screen again. They kept asking themselves one question. Does this message bring honesty, or does it only bring relief for me? That question reshaped everything. The document slowly became less about explaining the past and more about honoring your heart. One afternoon they found an old notebook resting inside a forgotten drawer. Between its pages was a small piece of paper with a sentence written years ago. It simply read, "Real love tells the truth even when truth feels costly." They stared at those words for a long time. They could not remember writing them, yet they knew they needed them now. They placed that paper beside the document and continued reading every page again. Some lines made them smile softly. Others brought quiet tears. Instead of deleting painful memories, they accepted them. Those memories were no longer enemies. They had become teachers. Each one reminded them why honesty should never be delayed. Another section describes something you never witnessed. During the months of silence, your soulmate often practiced conversations that never happened. They imagined sitting across from you. They imagined answering every difficult question without becoming defensive. They imagined admitting where they had failed. Those imagined conversations changed them. They realized that true courage is not winning an argument. True courage is remaining honest when honesty leaves you with nothing to hide behind. That understanding slowly replaced fear with humility. By the time they finished the final draft, they were no longer searching for perfect words. They simply wanted truthful ones. There is also a page filled with gratitude instead of apology. They thanked you for qualities you may never have noticed in yourself. They thanked you for your patience during confusing moments. They thanked you for choosing kindness when frustration would have been easier. They thanked you for believing in goodness even when circumstances became painful. Those words were written without expecting recognition. They were written because appreciation should never remain unspoken. Sometimes the greatest healing begins when gratitude finally finds its voice. That page may become one of the most meaningful parts of the entire document because it reveals what your presence truly meant. Take another quiet breath today. Let your heart remain steady. Hope does not require hurry. Wisdom grows gently. Whatever the future holds, your value has never depended upon another person's readiness. That truth remains firm. Healthy love always walks beside truth, respect, and patience. It never asks you to abandon peace. Your own healing has prepared you to recognize the difference between sincere change and temporary emotion. That preparation matters more than you realize. It allows you to listen with compassion while still protecting the peace you have worked so hard to rebuild. Your soulmate also included one unexpected sentence near the end. It is not dramatic. It is deeply simple. They wrote, "If I had learned honesty sooner, I would have spoken before silence became a habit." That sentence carries no excuse. It carries only understanding. They finally recognized that avoiding difficult conversations created deeper pain than the conversations themselves ever could have. Accepting that truth has transformed them. They no longer fear uncomfortable moments as they once did. They now understand that difficult conversations often become the doorway to genuine healing. As evening settled once more, they closed the document for what they believed would be the final time. The room was quiet. A gentle breeze moved the curtain beside the window. They whispered a short prayer asking for wisdom, courage, and peace for both hearts. They did not pray for control. They did not pray for guaranteed outcomes. They simply prayed that truth would accomplish what silence never could. That quiet prayer filled them with calm. For the first time in a long while, they felt ready to let honesty stand on its own without trying to shape what would happen next. Now everything is prepared. The pages are complete. The words are sincere. The memories have found their place. The gratitude has been spoken. The apology has been written with humility. Only one quiet moment remains before the document leaves their hands. Yet there is one final detail you have not discovered. Hidden inside the envelope is a small handwritten note that was never meant to impress you. It was meant to answer one question your heart has carried since the day the silence began. When that note is finally revealed, you will understand why your soulmate waited until their heart learned the difference between fear and truth. Imagine hearing these closing words as a quiet reminder inspired by faith. My child, listen closely. The greatest truth was never hidden inside the document alone. It was revealed through the change that took place before the document was ever finished. Honest words matter. Changed hearts matter even more. That is why these pages were not rushed. They were written after reflection, humility, prayer, and a willingness to face the past without hiding from it. Your soulmate finally understood that real love is not proven by dramatic promises. It is revealed through consistent honesty, patient actions, and genuine respect. When the document finally leaves their hands, let your heart remain calm. Read it without fear. Read it without rushing. Listen not only to the words, but also to the spirit in which they were written. Notice whether humility has replaced pride. Notice whether responsibility has replaced excuses. Notice whether peace has replaced confusion. Those quiet changes often reveal more than any emotional sentence ever could. At the same time, remember your own growth. You are no longer the person who waited every day for an answer. You have learned to value peace. You have learned that your future is not built on uncertainty. You have discovered that hope becomes stronger when it is rooted in faith instead of fear. No matter what the document says, those lessons remain part of who you are. They cannot be taken away. If this message has encouraged your heart today, let it remind you of one simple truth. Healthy love never asks you to abandon wisdom. It never demands that you ignore what you have learned. Instead, it invites honesty, forgiveness where appropriate, and patient discernment. Sometimes relationships are restored. Sometimes they become a meaningful chapter that teaches lasting lessons. In every situation, grace and truth can walk together. If these words have brought hope to your heart, consider sharing this message with someone who may need quiet encouragement today. A gentle reminder can become a light during someone's difficult season. Kindness often reaches farther than we realize. Above all, keep walking forward with faith. Continue praying instead of worrying. Continue choosing peace instead of fear. Continue believing that honest conversations and humble hearts create space for healing. Whatever tomorrow brings, let wisdom guide your steps and let hope remain steady. And if this message has spoken to your heart in a meaningful way, you may simply type Amen as a quiet expression of faith and hope. May your path be filled with peace, your heart remain open to truth, and your future be shaped by grace, honesty, and the quiet confidence that every meaningful step is stronger when taken with faith.